Hello everyone, this is Tanya from Professor Tanya Speaks, and today's video is the part 2 from this video where we were talking about integrating sources. And at the end of the video I told you that there are 7 steps that you need to follow when you're integrating a quote, a summary, or a paraphrase. So I'll just quickly review those 7 steps, and then I will go step by step and explain what each step should be doing and how to accomplish each step. Now, I'm talking about quotes, quotations, but this is applicable for quotations, summaries, and paraphrases. But it's a little bit maybe more challenging. Students find the quotes a little bit more challenging, so we're only zeroing in on quotations, but it works for any kind of source, any way that you choose to use your source, whether it is paraphrasing, summarizing, or quoting. Please keep that in mind. So as I said in that video, the first step would be to write a topic sentence. So step 1, write the topic sentence. Step 2, explain the context. Step 3, provide the author lead in. Step 4, insert the quote, the paraphrase, or the summary. Step 5, document the source. Step 6, interpret, explain, and discuss. And then step 7, finish with the conclusion or the concluding sentence. Now let's talk about each step. Now, just to be clear, you are not expected to just put a patchwork together. Now, let me show you what a patchwork looks like so that you don't do the same. Now, look at this example here. And I'm using, all the examples I use will be from the Learning Resource Center at the college where I teach. And in the last video, I referred to a paragraph that I got from the Learning Center. So I'll be using the same example in this video, but I'll just be extending it and giving a little bit more information. So let's look at this patchwork. This is what you should not do. Please have a look. You see it says, Kimmel 1990 pointed out that socioeconomic status, ethnic origin, intelligence, gender, and race tend to operate in a complex ... that's ellipsis, ways to limit the range of occupations open to an individual. End of quote, page 293. He explained that, open quotation marks, educational background, contacts with a particular occupation through one's ethnic or religious groups and family members, and discrimination operate for or against an individual's movement into an occupation. End of quote, page 293. He concluded that, open quotations, the boundaries thus created are often unfair to particular groups of people, parentheses, notably African Americans, Hispanics, and the poor, close parentheses, close quotation marks, page 294. Now, very often that is what we get, and that will not do. That is a way of not integrating your sources properly. You are not expected to string together quotes. You are expected to have a voice, to have an opinion, to argue, to discuss, and then use the quotes to support you. And we expect you at a college level, or of course university level, to be able to do that. You're not just stringing together material. We want to hear your voice. We must realize that this isn't just stringing a collaboration of what everybody else has to say. We want to hear what you have to say. So let's talk about how we do that. So the first thing you do is you make a point by creating a topic sentence. You make it brief and you get to the point and you put no discussion with it. It's only a topic sentence, which is a topic and how you feel about the topic. And since the topic sentence summarizes the paragraph, that topic sentence will tell the reader what is coming up. So here's an example. One factor which influences how well students do in school is parent involvement. Short and brief. And that's what the topic sentence should look like. It should just be brief. Then the next thing you do is explain the context, which helps the reader to understand why you said what you said, and it helps to give them context. So that also will be preparing them for the evidence that is coming. So here's an example. Parents can be involved in their children's schools in many ways, such as taking children to school, having regular contact with teachers, and monitoring, helping with homework. Research indicates that parental involvement, regardless of a student's background, is a powerful indicator of student success. So as you can see, that sentence would have prepared the reader. So keep in mind that when you provide the context, it should do three things. It should give background information, explain the significance of your point, and define or highlight the meaning of your point. Now, the third thing you're going to do is introduce the author, and we call this introducing the author with a lead in. And that's when you say something like, as Moses and Routledge 1991 pointed out in an analysis of Ontario schools. Now, you can, sometimes people say according to, that's also fine. And there are many other verbs that you can use. You can say things like assert, claim, declare, insist, report, suggest, write, whatever you're comfortable with and whatever you think they are doing. But you have to provide a lead in that helps the reader to know, or the listening audience, if you're speaking, for them to realize that you are now about to tell them what the author said. So that's step 3, provide the lead in. Now, step 4 is when you would be inserting the quotation, or or you'd be talking about the summary or the paraphrase. But if you're using a quotation, you are only supposed to put the part that's relevant to the discussion. So let's say somehow the person's quote was this long and you only need this little part. That's the only part you'd be including. Do not write everything, only the part you need. So let's look at this example right here. Although family background is indirectly linked to how students do in schools, and the quotation starts here, it is not the home that is the cause of some children's lack of success in school, but rather it is, in substantial part, the lack of connection between home and school. Close quotation marks, page 141. So that is how you introduce the quote, and that's step 4. And step 5, you document the source, and here's an example. As Kimmel, and that's the author, 1990, and that's the date, explained in his text on adulthood and aging, and you notice that's in italics, and then the quotation mark, and then the open quotation marks, socioeconomic status, comma, ethnic origin, comma, intelligence, comma, gender, comma, and race tend to operate in complex ... Those ellipses mean that that part of the quote was not needed, and the 3 dots indicate that something has been taken out, which was not necessary. ways to limit the range of occupations open to an individual. End of quote, and then the page number 293. That's it. So that is how you document the source. Now, once you use a quote, you cannot just leave it there. You have to go to step 6 when you're going to interpret, explain, or discuss the quote. You can focus on a particular aspect of the quotation, as they did in this example, where the focus was on lack of connection. And let me read and show you what that would look like. This lack of connection refers to parents who participate very little in the schooling experience of their children. So very little that happens at home between parent and child has anything to do with what happens at school. This lack of involvement by parents in the schooling of children can happen to any student, regardless of socioeconomic background. It helps explain why students from low income or minority backgrounds can, with lots of parent involvement, have more success at school. In the same way, it shows that students, even from wealthier families, need parent involvement in the school experience of the child. So that part, which I just read and you probably just read, that part is the actual writer's thoughts. That has nothing to do with the quote. That is the explanation of a little section of the quote. And remember, you're only putting the part of the quote that you need for your paper. Only the part that's relevant. And that's why you have the ellipsis, because you don't always need the entire quotation. So that is step 6. Now let's talk about step 7. Step 7 is the concluding sentence. It's the sentence that wraps up everything. It's the sentence that makes us have a strong finish, and it makes the reader or the listening audience know that you're finished with this point and you're about to move on to the next point. So let's look at an example of what a concluding sentence could look like. The implication is that parents who find more ways to be involved in their children's schooling will increase the chances of their children succeeding at school. So you can see that this is the concluding sentence and it echoes the topic sentence. There should be a clear link between the topic sentence and the concluding sentence. Now, those are the steps that you have to take if you want a good grade and if you want to integrate your sources well. You have to follow these 7 steps. Once you follow the 7 steps, your sources will be properly integrated and your in-text citations will work. Now in the next video, we're going to talk about the end of text citation, which is writing your either the MLA style or the APA style, which is really your bibliography at the end. And then we'll talk a little bit about the annotated bibliography. So begin to think about how you're going to be integrating your sources, and keep in mind that you have to follow those 7 steps. So I hope this was useful and I hope you learned something today, and I will see you in the next video. So until then, bye for now.